morning. Today I'm going to talk about my plants. So I have a lot of rescue plants that are in a state of maybe they'll succeed, maybe they won't. Then I have my baby plants that I sell at my boutique, and then I have my own personal plants. I cannot guarantee that my house is super clean. I do my best. I deal with a lot of dirt inside, but here they are. So right here is one of my plumeria trees, and she is a rescue. When I rescued her, she was in a really rough shape. She had lots of insects and bugs, and she just looked terrible, and she looks a lot better now. But hello, she's doing well. She's got a lot of new growth, and she's fairly happy considering what she was going through. When I got her, somebody had taken her out of the ground, just dug the whole thing up and dumped her where I worked, and said she was free. Everybody else looked at her and went, no, nobody has time for that. But I have a thing for plumeria, and I like to grow plumeria inside, so I was like, I'll give it a try. And it took me several months to get her to a condition where she's growing leaves and she's happy. She's one of those where I had to soil drench her a couple of times. I had to treat her multiple times over the first few months that I had her. And she's doing better. So now I'm going to show you some of my babies that I grow. So these are babies that I grow, and this one right here was a rescue, and I've cut her back a few times because I'm trying to get her to build up some new, strong, healthy leaves. And if you can see right there, she's got some new growth coming. But these others are babies that I grew from just little tiny itty bitty leaves that broke off of other things. Those two I actually bought. When they get enough light, they start getting pink tinged around all the leaves. And this is one that I'm letting grow for a while before I try to sell her so that she fills out really well. And then these are some cuttings. And, you know, both those are easy to grow. This fantastic beast is my Alocasia amazonica, and she is getting pretty big. When I got her, she was just a little baby, and now she's looking really happy, really full, really good healthy stems. I love this one. Okay, I'm not always successful with the rescues. These are 3 devil spines that I rescued. We'll see how it goes. I've been working on them for a while, but I haven't quite found the right humidity for them. And when they're in really bad shape anyway, usually I'll check the roots before I commit to trying to rescue. These had pretty decent roots, but they're still struggling. Here they are. They look ratty. It is my hope that if I put enough good hard work into them, give them some Super Thrive and some food that, sorry, they look bad, they'll come back. These are 2 peperomia. This variegated one is gorgeous, and I just wanted to show off this one and how much new growth she has and how excited and happy she is to be here. There we go. Oh. So you may have noticed that I have these ring lights, and these are full spectrum lights. They are actually designed for seasonal affective disorder, but because they're full spectrum and they look cute, they make really good indoor lighting for my plants all year round. And they're not tacky, and I picked the ones that are gold because they match my gold shelves that I am very fond of. So that's one thing that I definitely recommend. You need full spectrum light, especially on indoor plants, and absolutely during the winter when they're not going to get as much good natural light. So I definitely recommend looking into them. There are lots of different kinds of full spectrum lights. In fact, I usually put a lot of plants around my lizard vivarium because I have a huge full spectrum light there. It is 4 foot long because the vivarium is 4 foot long, but because I group my plants together nearby, they're reaping the rewards of that extra light. Okay, so I'm going to show you in one of my other videos, I installed a misting system and I did it really cheap. I got $5 shower curtains and an old metal shelf that I already used for plants. And I put a Nivarium or terrarium mister in there. So I actually have some of my full spectrum lights in there also. As you can see, I decided to do this one this way, which is kind of odd, but it works really well. So this is where I have some of my baby African violets that I'm working on. I'm actually about to expand those and grow a whole bunch of them, and I'll do a video on how to grow them from leaf cuttings because they are so cute when they're babies. I don't know if you can see that super well. So cute. And then this is where I have some of my babies that I'm going to be selling at the boutique and at the plant markets that are popping up everywhere in the city. I have a bromelia that is a rescue right there. She's doing better. She is starting to get some new stuff around. This is one of my philodendrons. I honestly don't know what this one is called because she is another rescue, but she was a cutting I took from a really big one that had gotten so big it was falling out of its pots, and it was too big for most people to buy because it was just flopping and it had never been staked at all. And she's really, really happy, and I love her, and I love how giant her leaves are. So I'm going to be doing a video on how I made my indoor fountain. I'm really proud of her. The fountain creates a lot of humidity in the plant room where I have most of my babies. So it does double duty. And I think that it's a really smart thing to have in your house, even if you can't do one as big as the one I did, even if you do with one that's sort of small. It actually helps to increase the humidity, plus it makes a nice noise, and it's just kind of a nice thing to have. I also start a lot of plants in this water, like cuttings. And that is a fake turtle. So I have pothos on one side and Rangoon creeper planted on the other side, and they finally have met in the middle. And I'm hoping that the Rangoon creeper will reach all the way to this well-lit window. So the pothos isn't looking super great. She's lost a lot of leaves, but she's really more something I want this Rangoon creeper to use and climb across the fireplace. My goal is that the Rangoon creeper maybe next season will be able to bloom inside the house. They have the most fantastic flowers and they smell like gardenias on steroids. Now, they need a lot of light. Since there's no light inside my house, I'll show you how I get her the amount of light she needs. So this is the Rangoon creeper, and inside my house I try to block out some of the light because it's just super intense, especially in the summer like now. But most of her leaves are actually right up against the window, so she's getting that intense warm sunlight she needs, which is enabling her to grow inside of the house as well as she is at the moment. This is on my back patio, and it looks pretty rough because we've had an unusually hot summer, the hottest one on record. Last year we thought that would be the hottest one on record, but this is the one. So these I actually keep shaded, some shade cloth. It doesn't look super nice right now, but it saves them so that they'll survive. And even when we had an insane freeze a couple of years ago, which had never happened in this state before, Most of it survived because I had it covered and protected out here, and because I ran the fireplace, which is on the other side of that brick, the whole time, and that kept it warmer out here. So it's dark right now on the side of the house. I'm going to show you where the next few plants are, so I apologize if they're kind of hard to see on the video. But I have these next to my husband's midlife crisis TV, and they don't get that much light, but they do pretty well where they are. In the early mornings, they get really bright light, and then the rest of the day, it's kind of like pretty limited. And the plants down at the bottom are to hide the PlayStation and Xbox and other stuff that goes with the TV. Instead of an entertainment center, I wanted everything to feel kind of light and like it's floating instead of having some giant entertainment center. Good morning, lizard. You enjoying the sun this morning? He's just chilling today. He really likes to come in here and get into all the plants. I make sure he has lots of freedom around the house. Very proud of this monstera. It was a gift from a very, very good friend. And here's my other plumeria. I got this plumeria when I was pregnant with my daughter, and it was just a stick about maybe 8 inches large. She's grown enormous. And these are orchids, and all of these orchids are rescues. So they don't look super great. I don't think this one's gonna make it, but most of these were given to me in a trade for some succulents that I had. The orchids came from the backyard of someone's uncle's house, and they were in really rough condition. So I had to ask a few people for advice on what I could possibly do to salvage them. And this one is definitely gonna make it. She's got this new beautiful growth, and she's got new beautiful roots coming, and I thought this one was a goner for sure, so I'm pretty happy right now. I'm growing them in leca with a teeny tiny bit of sphagnum moss, and the water that empties into the bottom is just creating a microclimate and evaporating to give them a little bit more of the moisture that they need. All of the snake plants you see in here, and quite a few that I sell at the boutique, all came from a single leaf that I cut a piece off of at my husband's office about 10 years ago. And I love snake plants because they will survive anything, and they are so incredibly easy to grow, and they give off a lot of oxygen. This is a rescued staghorn fern. Somebody pulled it off their tree and just wanted to get rid of it. So I attached it to this piece of wood, which is really old and a kind of porous. And because when they gave it to me, it had virtually no roots of any kind, I attached what was left of the main body to this piece of wood with this thing that has springs to make sure that, you can see the springs there, to make sure that it was flexible and it wasn't going to stress it. And I stuck some sphagnum moss under there to try and retain a little bit of moisture. So what I'll do is I'll soak this spongy piece of wood, and then I spray, and I have a humidifier that I run in this area for all the tropicals. And she's looking okay. We'll see how it goes. I've only had her for a couple of months. All right, these are my prized possessions, and I'm going to show you what I do with them. So this is a display case, but it's also a humidity case. So these are plants that I just especially love, except for the zebra plant. I hate her, and we have a really bad relationship, but that's a whole other subject. This prevents my favorite plants from getting exposed to anything the other plants might get exposed to, and it keeps the humidity right for them, and it gives me an opportunity to display my prized possessions. Now, the lighting for this video is not very good, but this is an Alocasia colprea red secret, and she has an iridescent quality, and when the light is right on her, she has a red glow. And then this beautiful plant doesn't look super special, but she is a black bat flower, and when she blooms, she will have the coolest bloom you have ever seen. I've got a squim back there. This is just a splash, but I like her. One of my favorite Dieffenbachias. That's a camouflage Dieffenbachia. And then this is a rattlesnake calathea. Okay, so I've got a couple of philodendrons I like. I don't know the name of one of them. I did look it up before, but it was a cutting that a friend gave to me. And honestly, I just can't remember the name of it. But I also have a Swiss cheese philodendron and a Rex begonia that I'm growing inside because I like to grow outdoor plants inside whenever I can get the conditions right. And 2 African violets that are growing out of rocks. Really like that, and I'll show you how to do that at some point on another video. This one I just cut some leaves off of to start some new African violets, but I'm planning on putting some miniature African violets in there so the whole rock will be covered in them. And there's my Rex begonia, my Swiss cheese. This one I love. As her leaves mature, she'll get a little waist like she's wearing a corset. And that's just an asparagus fern in a candle holder. It's working really well. So you've heard me talk about groupings in other videos. I have plants grouped together that need similar light, similar conditions. When I did my pest control video, I was talking about the nightmare of trying to treat all the plants in groupings if I notice that there's a problem on one. It doesn't happen too often, but in the past, I have brought rescues home and made mistakes about where I put them. This side of the house gets pretty dark, so I have this light on at all times, except at night for them, just to boost the amount of light they're getting. They're all fairly happy with low light. So I'm not going to bore you with like all the plants that I have, but those are some of my favorites. And I will do a video just on rescuing plants, but my rescues are often disappointing. They don't always go as well as like my plumeria tree that I was showing you earlier. There comes a point where I draw a line for how much energy and time I'm going to spend on a rescue plant. Even though my natural instinct is like if you see a lost puppy or kitten, you want to take care of it and do whatever it needs. With plants, it's like you gotta cut your losses at some point. But because I sell plants at my boutique and I do plant markets, I have a lot of stuff that's in all varying stages of development, and I've learned what I'm good at taking care of and what I'm really not. And I try to go with what I'm good at because, you know, nobody wants to buy a plant that's sickly or just doesn't look that great. But I've learned to kind of cut my losses, and the plants that I'm good with, I'm really, really proud of, and the plants I'm not good with, like the zebra plant, I just don't bother with them anymore. I'm just being honest.